In the 1500s, there was one of my particularly favorite saints, St. Ignatius of Loyola, lived. And St. Ignatius was a soldier that gave up the sword, as he said, for the pilgrim's staff of following Christ. And he lived in a time right after the Protestant Reformation. In fact, he's one of those responsible with kind of beginning the counter-Reformation in response to the Protestant Reformation. And St. Ignatius was many, many things, but he was particularly insightful when it came to the spiritual life. And St. Ignatius wrote what are called the spiritual exercises. And in these spiritual exercises, it's a very lengthy treatise just on growing in relationship with Christ. And you would do the spiritual exercises by going away for 30 days of silence. And toward the beginning of the exercises, he has a reflection on what's called the two standards. The two standards. And so St. Ignatius, being a soldier, when he uses the word standard, he's talking about kind of the standard bearer in an army, someone who held the flag of their king, announcing that who this army serves. And so there were two standards, two flags. There was the standard or flag of Christ, or the standard or flag of Satan, of evil, of the accuser. And so in the spiritual exercises, you're introduced to what are essentially the two choices, the two camps that we can live for, the two camps that we can fight for, the two camps, one of which we can worship, Christ or Satan and evil. And our gospel today gives us a wonderful kind of scriptural exposition of those two standards. The Magi travel far from the east, coming with gifts for one king. And they encounter two kings, though, when they arrive in Israel. They encounter King Herod, and they encounter Christ the King. One of these two kings, paid for his power to Rome, and one paid for the power grab in the Garden of Eden. One of these two kings bought the love of his subjects by rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, and one of these kings, his love was mocked as his everlasting temple, his body, hung from a cross. One of these kings was cruel, even killing his own children, and one whose compassion would welcome back all of God's children. One killed innocent children in his search for the other king, and one king would die in his search for you and me. As I say, our gospel today gives a wonderful kind of scriptural exposition of the two standards, the two kings, the two masters that St. Ignatius talks about in his spiritual exercises. And we certainly, I'm sure, have never encountered someone so cruel in our personal lives as someone like King Herod. But we have encountered, in fact, someone that cruel. It is that living power of evil. We have encountered Satan. And there are two choices, guys, that we are given almost every single day, every 5 minutes of every single day. And Herod comes before us, asking us, serve me, search diligently for this child, tempting us to not serve that child, but to serve him. And then there is the standard of Christ, the one who comes simply, vulnerably, giving up all power and authority, but initiating a kingdom into eternity, not for his good, but for yours and mine. Whereas Herod seeks to, through temptation, use you and I, taking our life, taking our life literally for his kingdom, for his good. This is temptation. That is the nature of temptation. That is when we talk about that good and evil on our shoulder. That is the nature of it. There are two standards. One where we are used and our life is taken from us for the sake of evil and thrown back in the face of our good King and so mocked by it. Or there is the good King, the standard of Christ, the one who gives life. And by making that choice, by serving him, by resisting temptation, by resisting evil, we can and have that opportunity, the same opportunity the Magi have, of offering him our worship. We might not come all the time with gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but we can come with our gift of self and say, we choose to serve you. We choose to resist the Herods of this world. We choose to resist the Herods of the spiritual life. We refuse to resist, or we choose to resist evil. And so we offer you, Lord Jesus Christ, that choice, because he is the only good King and the only real choice we have in this world.